Yeah, I think we're good. If we got to do another grab here.
More up here.
Started and try to have enough time to be able to address all the questions, field questions for everybody, kind of talk a little bit about the project. My name is Joe Rector. I'm with Mullins LLC. I'm a consultant on this that represents the developers that are looking to develop this site. So hopefully I can answer most of the questions that people may have on these. Thank everybody for coming tonight. We don't do this on every project. This is one where it was this is the right thing to get together everybody that's the stakeholders around it, and have these conversations so we can kind of explain the concept of what's trying to be done here and field everybody's concerns and be able to try to have a smooth project here. But with that said, I'll give you just a little bit of background on what we're proposing here. Is this is a little better. I think you guys have these in the packet. And I'll introduce Becky Cato here is our consultant that's helping with the land use change and everything. And she's going to talk a little bit about some of the things here with the specifics on some of that as well. And but she'll be able to help us address some of those. But so basically what we're talking about doing here is I'm going to try to do a townhome development on this, but have it capped at a certain density. So, as most of you may be aware of, if you've done a little bit of research, is that most of your single-family residential parcels, they have a density cap on them of 4 units per acre. And recently, land development code has changed in Santa Rosa County to varying lot widths, but the important number is the number of units you get on the property, 4 units per acre. In that land use, though, you don't have a provision to be able to do a townhome product. And what you end up with is you try to go through and get a rezoning, and the next step is an R2 zoning, for example, and that gets you the ability to do townhomes. But what scares everybody is also gives the density, maximum density of 10 units per acre. And if you kind of stop and look at it for a second, and look at the piece of property and think practical, you can really see quickly that no one would ever build 10 units per acre on a piece of property. You can't fit 10 units. It doesn't have to be with a 9-acre tract, so it'd be 90 units. And clearly we've got 28 shown there, so you couldn't fit 90 on it. So to avoid that conversation and that debate and that, well, what if, and the what if, being proposed here is to have a site-specific zoning on this that allows for the use of the townhomes, but it caps the density. So no one can come in later and do a bait and switch and go, well, I got an R2. I know I said I was going to do towns, but now I'm going to do whatever. We can't, because we're asking for this to be capped. So that gets the 28 lots in there, which that density actually for a 9.3 acre thing, 3 units per acre. So even though it's a townhome and it's perceived perceived as, oh, the density, it's actually less than what the just standard single-family residential density would be allowed on any of the other parcels anywhere around here that are zoned single-family residential. So that's kind of an overview of just the big picture. There's obviously, I know a lot of people's got questions and things they want to ask about, talk about, and we're going to talk about all those, but just want to kind of give you that snapshot first, kind of lay the groundwork, and then.
And like Joe said, the total number of dwelling units won't be more than they can do anyway with single-family homes. It would just be in a townhome configuration, and as opposed to single-family homes, they'll be purchased. So each one will have their own lot. And right now, the county allows pretty small lots in regular R1 zoning anyway. So even that really isn't totally different than what could be done with a single family. The only difference really is that they'll share this wall, and then the overall project will be managed by the homeowners association to keep up with the landscaping and all of that in a way that keeps the quality of the whole development high. And so you're not dealing with lots of individual property owners that do things a little bit differently. So I think that's a good thing for the area. The other thing that is different between townhomes and single-family homes is that when townhomes are reviewed by the county, they have to start going through what they call the commercial planning process, the commercial review process. And so it falls under a higher standard of review for things that are important to the community, like tree protection specifically. They have to meet a higher tree protection is a higher standard for townhomes than for single family. There's actually quite a few still left, and they'll have to identify those and be at a higher level of protection than they would if it was single family homes. So I think that's a good thing for the community. And I know something else that I heard, we heard about the concerns about stormwater, and Joe's gonna talk about that in a little more detail. We heard some concern about just quality of the development, and so the developer's here to talk about that in much more detail as well. In your package, you have pictures of what that's gonna be, and he'll speak to that. When we were trying to think of the things that we heard at the public meeting, we thought this would give us an opportunity to just spend a little bit more time together and talk about those in more detail outside of the formality of the public hearing. So with that, you want to talk about the units or about the engineering first?
Yeah, so one of the things that I know that was mentioned was the stormwater, and a discussion about wanting to understand what's going on. So without getting it too convoluted, I could try to keep it in what makes sense about it, but to the state. The state looks at it where whenever you have a development you're coming in here to do, they say, today there's rainfall falling on the sky on this piece of property, and it runs off this piece of property and gets into an eventual wetland that makes it out to the body of water of the bay. And so whenever we're coming in to do the development, what we're required to do is to design our site and do it in a way to where you cannot increase the amount of water that leaves the site. That's the law, that's the rules, you can't do that. So it has to be configured in a way to be able to capture that water and then discharge it out into a body of water, mixed into a creek, stream, ditch, or wetland, whatever. However, this one is not touching a wetland. There is property here between the wetland area and everything. So this water that falls in here now, Gallo, somebody named Gallo lives in this area here. Poplowski, Gallo. Anyway, these properties along the north side here, currently in this area, this water, there's a ridge that runs here, this water falls out of the sky, hits and runs all makes it, falls, and comes down through here, makes it through a pathway, makes it in that wetland, goes out that way, makes it out to, underneath the road out to the bay. What would be the situation with this one, since we're not touching that wetland? We have to collect 100% of the rainfall on the site. And we have to store it on our site. And it percolates down into the groundwater. This stormwater pond is designed to hold 13.44 inches of rain across this piece of property.
How many inches?
13.44 inches. Why 13.44 inches? The state of Florida has done analysis over years and years and years and years. And the 100-year, 24-hour storm event rainfall is 13.44 inches in a 24-hour period of time. That's what's considered a 100-year, 24-hour in this area.
And has there been a ground survey, a soil survey?
Yes,
that
there has.
concluded that it would drain out
Yes, there has.
within a 24-hour period?
Yes, there has.
And drain out to where?
Straight down.
Straight down and to where? Because
Okay.
if it goes into the bay,
So
now you've
here,
got an EPA problem because that's brackish water to begin with.
no, well, we don't actually, because this is how it actually works. And I didn't know how many people were gonna be here, but I got like, there's 10 of them, so there.
I've got something I'd like to offer. You mentioned that there's a.
I gotta have one. They're passing around there.
There's a ridge and water sheds off on the north side of the ridge is the bay, and on the south side of the ridge it goes into the wetlands. That's runoff. You didn't mention percolation. Most of all we get percolates now, because we don't have paved surfaces, we don't have roofs, we don't have other hardscapes to prevent percolation, therefore create runoff. But I think you need to make clear that right now, the natural process is into the ground. Okay, and that's gonna be impaired by development. Therefore, you've got to engineer some kind of solution.
Right.
And my question, is that going to be environmentally sound?
Yeah, it will. Because, like I'm saying, the state practice for these facilities is you have a stormwater pond here that will capture it's a foot of rain, 13.44 inches. Take a foot of rain on that site, and it's gonna collect into the storm system that now we're putting in this road. Roads are gonna be inverted crown, so all this water, instead of leaving the site like it does today, it either goes straight in the ground today, or it leaves the site today, and takes whatever.
So how much are you building up the land in order to get it to drain?
So, none of this, because this is on top of the hill. The only things like right here, we have to come from the property line, and it, so that these hard surfaces aren't just sheeting off into the wetland. They're sloped to where this is all coming into this pipe, this inlet, into the system to be treated, and take all the impurities, filtrate it out, collect into the pond, and then the water percolates through the bottom of it, makes it into your groundwater, and you can see how once it goes through the bottom of the pond and then makes it into your groundwater, that groundwater then continues through the rock and the silt.
Still let me answer the question.
What's the question then, so I can specifically answer, because I'm trying
Build
to.
up a land.
Right.
How much are you adding, how much land, how much dirt are you gonna have to put into that rock in order to get the slope of the land to fit, to drain to that pond?
So we're gonna dig this hole right here and take that dirt and put it in.
How much?
However, whatever the size of that pond is, are you looking for the
Still don't know
cubic?
how high you're gonna raise that ground, but.
Well, okay, first of all, we haven't designed it yet.
Okay.
What we're trying to do now is to kind of, we have an idea. I can tell you it's probably gonna be about, probably 3 or 4 feet coming up, because it's got a slope from there back to here. So currently, according, if you look at the contours here, you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 feet of fall across there. So, but that's at that extreme corner there. There you only got 2 feet of fall, so that one right there will be built up 2 feet.
Are you gonna have to put in any retaining walls? Because I know they didn't plan on retaining walls at the water
does off of the property, for sure, but this is field.
Right on that property line.
This is
How far back is the property?
Field run topography we have here, so.
I got a question for you. That property on the corner over there, the Beechwood in 98 is my property, OCCX. I have a project that's being approved by the county to be like a commercial building, 8,500 square foot building on the front of that property. And there was a study made on my property that I'm gonna have to build a huge retention pond with the overflow under the 98 because that kind of ground cannot absorb the water. And we spend maybe 40 grand on just something to kind of make the water drain under 98 and go away because that ground is not gonna absorb the water. It's not the same ground over there. I mean, because everything flows through 98, you know?
So if, copies of the geotechnical reports, they get submitted to the county. LNJ, Geotechnical Engineering, anybody can check on them if they would like to. They've been the geotechnical engineering company since 1972 around here. Larry Jacobs, everybody, and anybody that's in construction or done anything that's aware, they are the people. That's who we hired to come out here, and they've done multiple testings out there, soil borings, and
Yeah, I need to overdig mine like 18 inches, put some good soil in there, and even there, it's not gonna drain the water. I'm gonna have to overflow
Yeah.
and connect down to 98. Another
So-
question is on the Beechwood, you guys planning to do anything to open that street, how that is gonna work? Because it's a really tight street, and it's gonna be a lot of cars driving back and forth. You know, if you have pictures, I don't know if you have from the street there, there's a concrete driveway there, right now, most of the people, sometimes when you have two cars going the same way, you got get out, almost get out of the one way, so you let the other car pass. You guys have any plan for that?
so we don't own that property out there. It's the county's property.
Gotcha.
We can't go out there.
But you have any plans?
They
about
said at the last
side?
meeting, they don't have to widen it.
Huh?
They said the impact of the cars wasn't gonna affect it.
That's the
And-
county's fault. It had-
No, Miss Cato said that. It was in y'all's write-up.
County, that's a county decision on that kind of stuff though. It's so,
Okay.
yeah.
How many bedrooms are these units gonna be? 2, 3?
I don't have anything to do with the houses. I'm not sure.
What was that now?
How many bedrooms to each of these?
Three bedrooms.
3 bedrooms, so you're gonna assume that would be, could be a couple and a child.
You can figure 2 cars per unit.
2 cars per unit,
Yeah, pretty much.
it's 20,
So we'd have 28 units on the property.
Yeah, so that's like over 50 cars.
So the county will analyze that and they'll tell us if we got to do any improvements to the road. That's county engineering call. We don't know what they're gonna require us to do. And going back to your question about, your ground evidently doesn't perk. The reason they're making you do an outfall.
For sure.
And then you're in a different watershed, so your water's gonna have to go underneath 98 to get
Yeah,
out.
everything that comes through
Yeah.
Beechwood
Yeah.
falls into my property.
And
This
once
one
it
has
goes
that
up on
huge
this property
one.
here, it's real sandy soil, and they
Yeah.
done 35-foot bores. And another
Yeah.
thing is that we have to hold this water and store this water for 72 hours. So it takes 72 hours, correct me if I'm wrong, for this 100-year event to collect in this pond and dissipate back down. So we're slowing down the rate that it's leaving the property.
But you just said before it would drain within a 24-hour period, so
No.
now
No,
it's
sir.
not
No,
going
ma'am.
to drain.
That's not, I didn't ever say that. I said that it's calculated based on 24-hour rainfall event.
Okay, so now you have a hurricane that you've got 12 inches a day for 3 or 4 days, now
That's-
you've
that
got
hasn't
48
happened.
inches.
We can't do that.
30 inches
But-
is not too long.
but,
So, under the regs, we have to account for a 100-year event. That's not by our guidelines, that's the county's guidelines. So every subdivision in this county that's built right now is built under that same standard.
Now, I
But we've
think,
got a lot of storm water problems all over the county.
Mm-hmm.
you know,
We're not
this
causing
particular,
that problem. We're actually helping that problem.
this
I don't know about
particular
that.
area
And this is
an
why I
open
say
area.
that. This is why I say that. In 2014, we took, I think, 23 inches of rainfall right in our area. Flooded out all around. Did not flood in our area. We got that pond backing up to my property. Undermines my shop. Who's paying for it?
So you're saying the pond's on our property?
No, that pond's backing up to my property.
Where's your address? Where you at?
1684 Beechwood Drive. So,
What's your last name?
Laws.
where?
You go for my.
No, it's right there. I'm looking at it. It says laws right there.
Is it a double lot?
Ain't no
It says
double
laws
wide.
right there, right there.
Okay, let's say for my property, my name is Thomas Alama. We
the vehicle weather. You can see it's exactly on my property line. Here.
Okay, yeah.
Affects me.
Let me mention too, that the same thing would be the case if the property develops with single-family homes. It's zoned R1 right now for 4 units per acre, basically the same number of homes. The topography stays the same, stormwater requirements stay the same.
There's more green space.
So, not necessarily.
Yes, they would, if they're individual houses with space in between.
You have to put in more
There's green
roadway.
space.
Not necessarily, because
That's why you're trying to do this.
the county doesn't require minimum lot sizes. So, they're not that big of lot sizes. And then it doesn't say how much, you can have a very large home on a very small lot. And you could end up actually with less in some cases, depending on the circumstances. And you would have it situated where you have a lot of different builders and a lot of individual
But
homeowners
that's this
dealing with
neighborhood.
the stormwater.
That's the charm of this neighborhood is you go down the street,
I
you have
understand.
Hickory Shores, and there are no
So-
two houses alike.
I
It's not
understand.
cookie cutter.
But we don't go down Hickory Shores.
Well, you know what?
We're on Beechwood and we're adjoining his commercial, which is a good blend.
Yeah.
You go from his commercial right there to these townhomes. What is everybody's biggest fear with the townhomes?
You're changing that
I think
landscape of the area.
That's the biggest hill on this peninsula.
Yes, sir.
And I believe it used to be an Indian site, and I think y'all are gonna have to deal with that on down the road. And it's got beautiful oak trees on it that contribute to decreasing the CO2.
Okay.
And just like you got in Houston right now, they're buying back all the swamp that's been developed. My best solution would be for the county, not the county, but Gulf Breeze has to pay $2 million in damages for what they did over here on Shoreline, is for them to buy, and y'all to move on back to Robertsdale and build something over there.
Gotcha.
And if I may, the
Yes, ma'am.
future plans, when they redo Highway 98, is to close the median that goes into Beechwood. They're not leaving all those medians open, y'all. They're leaving the Friary open. From what I hear, they're closing the one into Beechwood. They're closing some of the other ones. So what is the traffic going to do to Hickory Shores Boulevard as it comes in? They're not, everybody that's coming into this development is not gonna turn off of Highway 98 onto Beechwood. They're gonna turn down another road. It goes straight up and down Hickory Shores Boulevard.
Well, not only that, the subdivision by Napa right there has to come out, and they have to come east and turn around to get on 98.
Yes.
So it lines up where you get on there to go down to the Friary, out to the street, then you go to the next one, then you go to the next one, and you're on Beechwood.
I do it every day. I live right up the street. I make that U-turn every single day, multiple times a day.
I'm saying, who has the right of way on the street there on 98?
Do I?
Who's got the right of way on 98?
Who's got the right of way?
When you do the U-turn, who has the right of way?
Are you talking about people coming off side streets?
No. If I'm pulled up there coming out of the Friary, who has the right of way? The person on 98 doing the U-turn, or the people driving down the subdivision?
The person on 98 doing the U-turn,
So
absolutely.
that's absolutely.
That is absolutely right.
people don't know that.
Well, I know
That's why
Hey,
there's so many
on my
crashes,
street,
yeah.
they've got a sign that says, traffic turning must yield to people doing the U-turn, and they still don't do it. So I know, I live right at the street. I mean, I know.
This particular area
While we're
of
talking about the streets here, the street, going into the townhouse development is, 24 feet wide, is that correct? 24 foot.
Yeah, the paved.
Is the paved street.
The right of way
It's gonna
is-
have a curve on each side, and then we'll have a right of way, all total, but it'll be 50 feet.
50 feet of
A
right.
50-foot right of way.
Yep.
And so the right of way, I'm real familiar with all that property. And so that 50-foot right of way, has got to
side setback's 15 feet.
I
so-
measured 14 feet 6 inches. Maybe my math's wrong.
Yeah, because right away's not out there yet.
But no, but I know where it's laid out, and I don't see, I mean, it's gonna be very close to her house. It's the right of way, you know, not the street. I know the street.
Have you got a concern with that?
Absolutely. Love it.
I was just, I hadn't heard it. I mean, we're working on this.
That's the
It was
law.
right there when I was talking about it, so you have.
I
not been listening.
didn't. Yeah, I wasn't. I was listening to everything. So I just, that's why I was asking that question. Because
And then it's 10 feet on the backside.
10 feet on the backside?
That's the way it looks to me.
No. It's,
The
What did I
Breland
add?
property line in her house, it looks like it's about 10 feet.
75 feet from the back of that house to that property line right there.
It's how many
You're going
feet?
back
No, the back corner of the house. to the back corner.
What's your question in the back, sir?
Just being patient here. My name is Jim Myers. I live in Hickory Shores Boulevard. And my question, are you the developer?
Yeah, I work for the developer, yes, sir.
Okay, my question to you is, why was the decision, why do you need to put townhomes on this property? Why cannot you put single dwelling homes
We
in
could.
the R1 status?
We could.
Well, why aren't you?
This is,
Why
this
do
is the
you
product that
change
we.
from R1 to R2? Is it about the money? Well, I know, I'm not being sarcastic.
You know, at the end of the day,
Logical question.
everything works around the almighty dollar, does it not?
I understand that.
So, yeah,
So
we're
why,
going to
I mean, you're a developer.
Yep.
I'm not anti-development whatsoever. Trust me, I am not.
Right.
But what I don't understand is why this particular property?
This is a good transition between commercial and single-family residential.
How's that?
You have all the commercial on the front side, you got a big power line that goes.
Commercial as into what kind of commercial?
What's that now?
What kind of commercial are you talking about?
I have no idea what kind of commercial. He's put landscape facility in there.
There's the dilemma also. So you're gonna put townhomes instead of single dwelling R1 homes. How many homes are these? I mean, how many townhomes are these? I'm sorry, I came in late.
28.
28? We got 135 just down the road.
Yeah.
Off of commercial. So why do we need more townhomes? Why? I know you're in business, I'm a capitalist too.
Actually,
So why can't you
Actually, the
build
market-
single dwelling homes?
the market calls for them. And
market
there is-
calls for it.
Absolutely, there is
And,
a big
excuse me,
need
but
for them.
how much are you paying, I mean, how much are you charging for these homes?
We'll sell them, they'll start at about 3 to 325.
325, and how many square feet are those?
They're 17, 50, and 18. Or 17, 50, and 18. 30.
They're about $175 a square foot.
So the townhomes that you're referring to is probably some that Horton built. They're gonna be the 20-foot wide product, 2-story. They don't have a garage. These will all have a garage. They're a single-story unit. They're in that pamphlet there, you can look at it.
2-car garage.
2-car garages.
Don't mean to interrupt, but how did you come about with this idea to actually construct on this plat of property?
I'm sorry, what'd you say now?
How did you come about able to acquire, did you acquire this property or is
This
this?
property's
a deal
under
between you and
contract,
the private
Sandy
owner?
Moulton's sitting right here, she's the owner of the property.
Okay, so you're the one that wants to change it from R1 to R2 so you can get the bigger bang for your buck, is that right?
Well, she's a property owner, and that's
I
her
understand.
right. If
So
you
is-
own the
so
piece
is
of property, you wanna do the
so
same
is
thing.
everybody else here also.
So look, at the end of the day, we can come in,
I'm not
we can
being
build, we can build straight up
I'm
R1.
just making a statement.
Okay, well, I get your statement.
I think one way to also look at it is, these are a larger townhome product, and you see the reports put down the street that's 20-foot wide. Under the R2 zoning, under request, they could easily ask for 38 townhomes or 40 townhomes because they make them smaller. And that product's out there, and this builder has that product. But they decided to go with their larger townhomes, so they did want to try to compromise somewhat. Could have had 40 units, could have had 39 units. They say, hey, let's do 28 of the nicer, larger townhomes with the 2-car garage. Okay, it is a little bit different than the single family, but for a townhome, it's a fantastic, good looking
And it
product.
is a brick and hardy board exterior, where we could come in and put a 50-foot lot on this piece of property and do 4-sided vinyl. And you just have like a cheap little house there. I mean,
But couldn't you
that's
still
what
do
we
it? Couldn't you still do it?
Yeah, we can still do it. We could roll in there right now
One
and
thing
get our
just-
plans approved and build that product, that's what we wanted to do. What would you rather have there? Would you rather have a nice home?
I'd rather have single dwelling homes instead of townhomes.
I think you should hold off on conjecture, like your conjecture that your project would improve the land use or the land drainage or improve that land in any way. That's very misleading.
Yes.
There's nothing improved when you come in with your equipment.
I lived in northeast Pensacola. We've had townhomes off of Ninth Avenue.
Right.
That were built back in, I don't know, I guess maybe late 70s. Beautiful, nice, they were great. Guess what now they look like? They look like slums. You know why? It's because people bought those homes or bought those townhomes as you know, the first home buyer, okay? And then they take them and they rent them out.
Okay.
And then you think, what do you think happens after that?
So here's-
You know, 10 years from now, you're not gonna be here.
Hold on.
These people are
Hold
trying
on,
to be here.
let me address that. So the way that we do ours, you're responsible for everything on the interior, the HOA takes care of everything on the
That's
exterior.
common knowledge, that's common sense. But what about the exterior? What about that, what about the settling pond? Who's gonna be responsible for
The
that?
HOA is
10
responsible
years
and
from
also
now, when
the
that's gotta
responsible
be
for the
redone.
bond.
So the county's gonna take.
Are you gonna be there when that happens?
The county is,
You're not.
the county owns the pond.
The county owns the pond.
But they don't have any maintenance schedule for taking care of the ponds.
I'm sure they do.
You know, excuse me, you know that, there's that
No.
pond that they're re-digging out?
They can't even build a sidewalk.
No, the one that's further down, at Gulf Breeze. And that was all trees,
Oh,
big
Breland
trees,
Properties.
yeah. I found out that that actually is a retaining pond that the county never maintained.
It
So
runs
then-
over the road and, runs across people's property.
Right, so now they are trying to maintain it, but the county, you really can't count on them to maintain a pond, because they
Hey, when we
don't.
dig the ditch out, come in the fire house.
Right. So, you know, to say that will last forever,
So if we put in there and build a subdivision the way it says today under R1, it'd be the same deal. You got the same size
but
pond.
there's that less people that are draining water into it, I mean, you got, are you gonna be connected to sewers?
Yes.
Will you be connected? That's a plus.
Are they grinder pumps or is it sewage?
Not sure yet.
Quick question, so if we put 3 or 4 really nice homes in the woods, in a common driveway as opposed to a development that matches the neighborhood already, it's unique, it's not like all these side-by-side homes, you would have a unique experience on an acre.
Because you can't make money out of it.
Yeah.
Well, it's like this though, it's not that, I mean, no,
come
it's
on,
like
it's
this,
always about
it's
money.
like if you're a person who, let's say, you build birdhouses for a living, and that's what you do is build birdhouses, and then somebody comes in there and goes, you know, I like your birdhouses, but I want a doghouse, you know, I don't build doghouses, I build birdhouses. Well, I'd buy one of his doghouses. I mean, that's the same analogy, because it's like we build.
Very good analogy, but what's that gonna do for us?
They don't build developments that are.
We don't own it.
Why don't you?
We will once we get it entitled.
What, how long have y'all been under contract? How long has it been under contract? Has it been under contract over a year? 2
Yeah.
years?
That is irrelevant.
So
Why is it
because
why is it
why aren't you
irrelevant?
pulling the
We're asking
trigger
you an
on it?
honest
If it's
question.
R1, R2,
Because they need to rezone.
well, no, because he said he could do R1.
But
We
they-
can do R1 the way it sits right now,
That's not what.
but we're trying to do an R2 product.
So you're holding out until this gets R1 before you buy it?
It's already R1.
R2.
So as of right now, I could go in there and I could build 50-foot wide lots on it.
If you own it. So what's keeping you from buying it as R1?
Yeah, exactly.
We'll get it fully entitled, that's irrelevant to what's going on right here.
Why can't you get it out?
You're like, why don't all you guys just buy the property and you don't have to deal with it?
We would love to, that'd be a great
Can
thing.
you
Well,
get out?
we have it under contract.
Enjoyed it.
Yep.
No, I don't. You got a contract, you're holding up the property, maybe there are people that want to buy it.
to sell.
No.
You have it under contract to buy, you have it under contract to buy from Sun.
Exactly.
When does that contract expire?
I don't know.
Sonny, when does that
I think that
contract expire?
With their contracts, who knows?
So we're here to talk about contracts, we're here to talk about this development, because we're getting way off course here.
We don't like the way you develop. You clear cut East Bay Boulevard, there's no insects out there whatsoever. And it's gonna flood over East Bay Boulevard, cut all the residents on East Bay Boulevard off from 98. That's gonna happen.
Now, where is East Bay Boulevard?
It's the curve down there.
So
1 mile.
what's the issue with the Wilson property? Well, now we're on a totally different
The
road.
property is a clear cutting of a forest that used to be there, that used to absorb all the rainwater.
Okay.
Now it's gone.
What you don't understand about the trees here is when the storms come, the trees act like riprap along your steel wall.
Yes.
And then the winds go over your house. When you cut everything down, the winds come through and blow the roof off your house. Have you sat through a hurricane over here?
Not over here, I have not. I haven't been Pensacola.
Hey, I lived in Pensacola for years, and I didn't think there was any difference till I moved out here.
Yes, sir.
You know, we are such a narrow little strip here.
Exactly.
We're almost like an island.
We were actually on
There's
the
parts
narrowest
that
part
are
of
not even a mile wide.
This whole peninsula is bridge dependent upon evacuation, and there's already too many people to get off of it. If we
We've
have-
already seen what happened in Nature's Cove, and not real thrilled with Nature's Cove either.
What don't you like about Nature's Cove?
There's nothing on that property. I know what it used to look like. I know what it could have been like had they not been so greedy and packed houses in everywhere. They could have left a little island of trees right in the middle, a park maybe. Someplace for people to go.
They got a park down the street.
You know what?
It's a preservation area
I
for
almost
set
got
aside.
hit by a car by one of your construction vehicles. I sent a letter to Todd McCrory asking him to please ask those construction people to slow down at 5 o'clock in the morning. Right.
Well, we're getting off topic, so.
It's all part of the same time.
Let's have a raise of hands, how many people in here are against this?
Is there any change in your mind? Or is there any different thing in your mind?
It's because they have money.
Nice homes.
Your company doesn't. And in with the county.
This is all you're offering?
This is what we're proposing to do.
Nothing else? Nothing to change your mind, right?
I'm not saying that.
Well, whose idea was it to have this meeting? Did somebody from the county tell you to do this?
I'm sure it was Miss Cato.
We thought this would be a good opportunity to
Who in the
better
county did you meet with in
explain.
this case?
Well, I've talked to a number of different people in the
Commissioners?
county. Talked to the commissioner for the district,
Hey.
and I told him we were going to have this meeting. And I just felt like it would be a good opportunity to better explain what we want to do here, and importantly, explain the quality of the development as compared to the quality of another residential development there. Let me mention something, going back to what you were talking about clearing wooded areas. I know that's a frustration that's a common frustration. Something that I've learned as a planner over the years in Northwest Florida. Two things are real key points for any development, and as it relates to the neighbors. One is always stormwater, and one is always tree protection. And both are important. One of the reasons that for subdivision development, any residential development, one of the reasons that you see them go in, now, not the wetlands, of course, but all the upland areas, one of the reasons that you see them go in, clear the trees, is because they're trying to manage the water. So I'm a big tree hugger. And I learned a long time ago that protecting the trees is one of the things I learned a long time ago is that protecting the trees often gets in the way of directing the stormwater into those stormwater ponds. And so that's just separate from this project. I just wanted to throw that out there so you'll know, regardless of who the developer is, that's the reason that they do that.
I'd like to know,
As a tree hugger, you take one log at a time?
I'd like to know who was notified about this meeting.
That's a very good question. I asked the county commissioner's office to provide me a list of email addresses of people who contacted them. I thought email would be a good way to do it, knowing that that's easy for you to share with friends and neighbors that you knew.
My email's on file, I was not notified.
I wasn't notified.
I'm sorry, I sent it to a list of 36 that we got, so I'm glad you heard that. I was hoping that
drove across my driveway, like I said, he broke the edge of the
Yeah.
driveway. I told
He
him-
would be responsible for
Yeah,
that.
I told him to get off my property, you know, and,
Yeah.
another thing, there's a gate between my property and Son's property, which
Yeah.
Gulf Power has access to that. I think every time you have, again, I'm not here to create a problem, I'm here to I wanna know when people are there, open my gate and go back there, you know?
Right.
And first time the guys in there, he was really disrespectful with everyone, you know, including with Sonia. I was back there on my shop and I saw him the way that, you know, I think here's the thing, man, I work at construction, you know, I build 650 pools a year.
Yeah.
I've been in many houses and many customers. When I go to do some kind of construction work over there, it's up to me, to my guys to understand, we gotta respect where we're going, and we gotta go there and provide the best service ever, you know, and I think this communication needs to get better, you know, people not just can
Well, I
go there
apologize about that.
and
We'll
drive
look
with
into
the
that.
proper open gates.
Well, not only that, so after they couldn't get through here, which I have a key, my number's there, I'm there all the time, I've already said, I'll go open the gates for them. Janilson has to keep his gate locked, people are filling up the dumpsters. What do? They go down, come in Highway 98, come across another business's property, onto my property, with, I called and asked them, and they said no, they did not give them permission. I asked them, please not cut down any more trees. They pulled it right in and just continue doing what they're doing. So,
Your
again,
plans like
who's
good, but
responsible
your
for that?
They would
workers
be
aren't.
responsible for that.
Exactly, so that's the thing. Y'all are responsible just for development. What about Janilson's Drive? We gotta call them, well, they're not, well, they were hired by you.
You give me your contact information, I'll get you two together.
That would be good.
Who was it that done that?
Was a drilling company that was
Okay,
there, you
so
know?
then-
They've been there many times, but the thing is, like I said, if they ask me for, I'll open the gate, let them
Right,
go, you
yeah.
know? But just go there and open the gate, don't let you know, and just go on the property that you know, the owner's not right, you know?
Yeah, I mean, there's people there all the time. They can just ask, we all have keys.
So how deep is that retention pond gonna be? How deep is it?
Don't know today, because we haven't designed it, but right now we have 10-foot deep borings down to the water table, so it's probably gonna be
Well, that means you're down to about 9 foot, 8, 9 foot.
probably about 6-7 feet.
You can dig a well right there in an hour and a half. Well, garden hose.
I just have to.
So so you're confirming what the geotech said, that the soil perks that.
Down to get into the bay, if the water lines, if the water is something 10 feet down.
What's that?
How is the water in that pond gonna percolate if you're already at water at 10 feet?
So it's a hydraulic grate, it's not a flat line, so that's how.
It goes like this,
Yeah.
but all the stuff that's gonna go in there is gonna wind up in the bay. That's the problem you have with that.
All the stuff goes in.
All the stuff that's going in, so some guy goes along and his oil can's fixed, changes his oil out there in the driveway, his oil spills, where does that water go to? So it drips on the driveway, where does the water go?
Ends up at the bottom.
And where's the oil go then?
Well, it's initially gonna congeal in the bottom of that pond, and that's gotta be, and that's why the pond is designed the way it is, with the layer of sand in the bottom of it, to provide a filter. I mean, because it's a chimney system.
And it's like most of these other subdivisions, Randy, what you do is, if there's gonna be a clause in the people's contract, and it says, now the homeowners association is responsible for anything that gets in there. Is that not right?
I'm not sure.
Well, that's what most rest of them are around here. So people don't even know what they sign on the dotted line, they give their $250,000, $300,000 an ounce. Some idiot pours 5 gallons of oil in it, and guess who's liable for the whole deal? The whole subdivision. Everybody there.
But who's actually going to be affected by it? Is
Everybody
they.
there, because
It's
now the
they.
EPA comes in.
And where-
That could happen anywhere up or down.
Yeah, I mean,
You know what?
Down all the streets.
You're
That's
adding
something that could
28
happen
you're adding
anywhere in the
28
United
families to
States,
it
so I
in a
mean,
small area.
I'm not sure where we're going, what's the,
And
The
this
point is,
area is
these
being
people are buying
developed
a
too
big
fast.
boat and
This
everything
whole
like
area
that
is
too.
developed way too
Whereas you
fast.
got individual lots, okay? Whatever you put on your lot belongs to you. Whoever's in that center unit right there, somebody on the whole other end can drop oil on their driveway, or spill 5 gallons, or pour it down the drain, whatever, and it winds up out there in the car. And now that everybody in the subdivision is responsible for cleaning it up, not just the person that did it. But nobody ever tells them about that when you're signing your contract. It was 1,800 feet.
Yeah, and the same would be true for individual lots.
How's that any different than any other
Because-
subdivision anyway, is what I'm trying
Right.
to.
Less people, less village.
About the same number of homes that have a driveway, they'll have the streets with curb and gutter that'll go into a holding pond in the same location.
Why don't you just build the same amount of single family homes there to stay in compliance with? I think that was the way it was probably when it was purchased, but then I don't mind.
R1.
Okay.
Still R1.
If you're gonna be able to do that, I'd like to take mine and Al's right there, we're gonna join together, we'll go from there.
Well, and
Okay? And we'll come out there, Doug.
Well, you can actually only do 4
We'll
units.
route them out.
Yeah, only
Okay.
4 acres, and you can only, you can't do a high rise in that location. But,
Oh, but that's the whole purpose of
But the
zoning.
reason-
Why? Because of the zoning.
but the why is because there's a demand for this type of home. And when I first came to Santa Rosa County, something I noticed was that we didn't seem to have much of a variety of homes for people to choose from. At the time, there were a lot of really big homes, and then there were a whole lot of mobile homes, and there wasn't much in between. And something I've noticed over the last 20 years or so is that we're seeing more of a mix of housing types, which is a good thing, because people have different needs for different housing at different stages in their life. We always talk about wanting our kids to be able to come back and live here, and I'm grateful that somebody built a subdivision up near where I live so that my daughter and her husband had a home where they could build. You know, we're not necessarily talking about people from out of town coming to ruin our community. We want our friends and our family to be able to live near us. And there are different stages of life where not everybody wants a large yard to maintain. Sometimes they want or need a smaller one. And so the demand in this area, well, but the people
With the neighborhood
moving
around
here.
it. I think the whole thing is, this development, this type of development in the area that it is not consistent with the area completely around it.
Where would you put this type of an
I wouldn't
development?
put this that whole area of Hickory Shores. You know, houses are different, they're all different sizes,
In
they're
other
all
parts of
different
the
lots.
county, other parts of the country.
And it's very countrified.
Yeah, and
And
other,
this is no longer countrified.
you're right.
This is
It's-
suburban, okay, this is
Yeah.
countrified.
This is the suburbs.
It's taking away the entire face of the area.
Yeah, and I'm-
And it's the last area on this peninsula that has that face.
Yeah, and I'm sorry that the impact of us having a community where we can own vacant land and we have property rights and people can develop it and move into this community means that it changes over time. I happen to live in Pace and undergoing the same kind of changes. And yes, this part of the county is changing. It's not country anymore. It's definitely suburbs. And it's to have a transition between the highway commercial type of intense development that you have there and then the nice larger lot waterfront homes that you have back here. Nice townhomes are technically a good transition type of use there.
What's wrong with those people across the street there, they've got a cul-de-sac right in there, that's good starter homes.
And I'm not even implying that these are necessarily starter homes. You heard the developer say the price that they're going to have these at. These are going to be very nice homes. It's just at a different point in someone's life. Retirees, I know my little lot is more than I can manage a lot of times. I wish maybe I'd gotten something a little bit smaller. People even with couples that are both working, they might not want to spend the whole weekend taking care of their yard. This is a good type of an investment for them. As an option we're talking about real people that are gonna live in
The
these.
state has allowed Airbnbs to exempt the county from any say-so.
I understand.
And what I'm finding is, a house that was just built across the street, has 5 cars on it.
I'm sorry, but you can do that.
And, you know, you can't do anything about that. You couldn't do anything about these people putting 4 or 5 different
I
families in
couldn't
each
do
one
about
of
it
those
if
townhomes.
that's what you want to do at your house.
Well, the Air Force is advertising on Facebook for roommates for places like this to
I'm
live
sorry.
in. So it's not gonna be 2 cars. It's gonna be 4 and a motorcycle and a boat and a broken down RV that'll be stuck on Garcon Point Bridge when we're all trying to get out of here.
I'm sorry.
I got something to
So
say. So Ms. Cato,
had a question.
just refresh my memory,
Go
if I
ahead.
could, from the last commissioners meeting, you guys were told to develop a plan, that's what this meeting's for, correct? Yes or no?
I'm sorry, this is just an opportunity for us to, at the last
You were
meeting,
directed
it
at
was tabled.
at the county commissioners meeting to develop a plan that the county could lock you into, yes or no?
We were there.
Not
Yes or no? We were there, so.
Well, almost, that's not quite.
Now,
that's-
they wanted you to
no,
come
no,
back with a plan that they
No,
could lock
we-
you into
we
on the
have-
rezoning portion of
that's-
this, yes or no?
No,
No.
no,
Oh, yeah?
let me explain. At the very first meeting,
Now, I'm not talking about the first meeting, I'm talking about the county
But let
commission
me
meeting.
explain.
We told you no
I know.
at the planning zone meeting,
I
we're
know.
talking about the county commissioners meeting.
I know.
Where you were directed
I was there.
to come back
Hold on just
with a
minute.
plan that they could lock you into.
Let me explain that. This has been the plan since day one. This is the plan, this is what we showed at the
Were you or were you
zoning-
not
Let me explain.
locked into a plan?
Let
They
me
want you to
explain.
lock
Let her
into a
answer
plan.
the question.
This
Can
is-
she answer the question,
this
or
is-
is it just a statement? Because if it is, we'll let you come up and make the statement, and then she can answer the question afterwards, or otherwise, if you would be polite and let her answer the question, please.
Thank you. This is the plan hasn't changed. We've always wanted to just do 28 units. One of the things that we heard at the zoning board meeting was just a concern, and a normal concern, that we might change our minds after the zoning goes through and do more than 28. Or do something, or maybe do more and do apartments instead of townhomes or something. You know, there was a concern. And at the time, and the planning director at that meeting explained that at the time, the county could not place conditions on a rezoning. Couldn't limit, if the zoning were to go through, he said, unfortunately, that we could do whatever was allowed by the zoning district and not necessarily stick to our plan. What's changed in the meantime, and what changed between the zoning board meeting and that county commission meeting? And I know how frustrated everybody was that it was tabled, and I'm so sorry about that. But thankfully, the county rehired the former county attorney, Tom Danheiser. Many of you have met him. He was the county attorney for Santa Rosa County for decades. And then he left to be a judge. The county used to be, under his legal direction, the county was able to place conditions on rezonings. In the interim, they had a county attorney who wasn't as good, said, no, you can't do that. So when we were at that initial commission meeting, we weren't in a position to say, we promise we're only gonna do 28 townhomes, hold us to it. We knew the new county attorney was coming in, and that he was going to say, yes, indeed, you can place the conditions on it. After he came on, the planning director proposed a change to the land development code to allow conditions. And this is important for you to know, no matter whether it's this development or any other one. If something comes up, you know, a commercial project down the street, whatever it might be. Now they can place conditions on it. And so now when it goes in February, if the commissioners are inclined to approve it, then they can say, but we will only approve it with conditions that you do 28 and it's limited to townhomes, or whatever other criteria are important to them. Does that make sense? So it's not exactly what you said, but really
close.
But we did wait, because we want to be able to say, yes, we really promise. At that meeting, I don't know if you remember, but somebody looked at me and said, but can you really commit that that's what you're gonna do? Now we can take away at least some of that concern. we can't take away the concern that this property will be developed. The current owner isn't required to keep it in open space. She's not required to sell it to somebody who wants to just put one house or four houses. It's her resource and she can sell it and make money off of it, and that's a good thing. And so, but we can commit to limit the development to what we really are proposing, and that way you don't have to worry about that it'll turn into, 50 apartment units or something like that. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense, but I know that doesn't take away the frustration of anybody who drove up there for
What
that
you're telling me
meeting
is,
and had
it's
to
pretty
go
much
home.
the way I just said it. The county commissioners directed you to come up with a plan that they could lock you into at the meeting. That's what I heard come out of Colton Wright's mouth.
Yeah, so,
Okay.
I think the confusion is semantics. A layout plan that we could lock into is what their direction was.
Yes.
Next
And-
question
and in the
then, so the
meeting-
next question then is, and you mentioned it, so February, this is gonna go back before the county commissioners.
Yes.
Do you have a date?
Yes, I wrote it down, yes. Let me see.
And is it gonna be under the same, the 043, that same number that was
Yes.
initially?
It'll be under the same number.
Would there be a new sign put up?
Yes. I say yes, there should be. There should be. So, I'll try to talk
That'll be
to,
February.
double check that, 24. It's, and I believe, I tried to look this up, but they don't have it online yet. I think they changed that meeting time to 5 o'clock, so,
So is that y'all's next step, and either it's gonna get approved or it's not, and then if
Right.
it doesn't get approved, what's y'all's next step after
One thing.
They don't plan for it to get unapproved. It's
You
gonna be
talk
approved.
about rights, freeholders, developers, property owners, that is, I have the right to sell it, I have the right to develop it, I have the right. All right, I'll speak for myself and it might include others. I bought my property on Beaver Farm Road in 1983 for two reasons. One is it's R1, it's a restricted, single-family home property. The other is to get into the Oriole Beach School District for my two young children. That was my plan. Why would I want to give that up for someone else's interest? The R1 helps keep my property value up because we don't have mixed zoning. It keeps our land value where we can pass it on to our heirs. Okay, or for our own personal interest, we might want to sell it. And buy a gym condominium somewhere, But the thing is, I only took out 5 trees when I built my house. And there are a lot of houses that are placed like that in the landscape. All right, what you've given us in your handout, this color picture of what you've already shown us up here, a cover sheet, and then interior pictures of furniture and exterior photos of townhomes that have no native trees in the photograph. You're talking about taking out all the trees. That's a big disparity between wanting to maintain the landscape, the contour, the existing native live oaks, and magnolia, and hickory, and settle into the landscape and be a part of nature as best we can. A lot of us don't even have grass growing. We left it now. I did.
Yeah.
And I have native plants instead.
I might need to consult you on the native plant things.
So, I don't know if I'm getting fuzzy here, but the thing is we've got a vested interest in our properties, and I think everybody here is concerned about losing some value.
I understand. Now, and I understand your concern about losing the value of your property. The property is zoned for development, it's not zoned for a park. So, something will be developed. If be faced with the same challenge with regard to trees. And so, in that regard, that doesn't necessarily change between the R1 zoning and the R2 zoning. You see what I mean there?
I think the point with all of this being here is we don't want this development, we don't want townhomes, it's just plain and simple. We understand that it's gonna be developed, but we don't want a development, we want some people to come in and have a driveway, and they put their stuff in the trees. There's not big retaining ponds, and there's nothing that we're gonna have to worry about logistically. It's just people living in nature, there's no yards upkeep, like Pat was saying, and we don't want the development, so what, we're gonna be here again in February with this same anti-townhome.
I understand that, so if this doesn't work, then we'll come in and do straight up R1 on it, and there'll be single family homes in there, but there won't be 3 or 4 of them.
Yeah, it's weird that you have.
But you know what, it kind of comes back to, let me point this out, our government doesn't regulate that level of what you can do on private property.
So I can't get my eye right?
You have put your single family
You have a
home
certain amount.
tucked in among the trees, sometimes without a yard and all that, because that was the choice. The government only has a level of regulation that says you can build homes here. It doesn't say, there isn't, Santa Rosa County government doesn't say that every property has to be developed a certain way. Our local government doesn't even require you to mow the lawn, which it doesn't, in some parts of the country. We have very strong property rights here. And so there isn't any regulation that we're.
I totally agree with both of y'all. There's what y'all can legally do, and then there's the right thing. And what we want y'all to do is develop this responsibly, in a more responsible nature. Not what's legal, not what you can get away with, not what may or may not work 100 years from now. It's match the area. That's all we're asking for, just match what is already
There's
there.
still that one undeveloped property that the company says, yet it's still sitting there 2 years later, so they're gonna come in and strip this land. 2 years later, we might have some kind of construction up on it.
Well, then won't that set a precedent, and then other R1s can become R2s all over? A few remaining large parcels we have left in this area?
Just do it R1 and I'll go home.
You know what, there was a, Hidden Oaks up off Hickory Shores Boulevard was being sold and developed as R1, and then late in the game, they wanted to change it to R2. And
Well, they wanted all along, you can't do none of the,
so, I mean, they did the
connections
infrastructure,
out
they
there,
did
no one could.
the street and the whole thing. And we did go down, the neighbors did go down and they stopped it. Because it's not consistent with the area that it was rebuilding. If this goes in there, what's to stop that from being redeveloped? And the Friar is up for sale. What's to stop that from being, more townhouses? And, it goes on and you're completely losing the flavor of the neighborhood, completely. Which is why people move to that area. Now, I'll be honest with you, you can probably tell from my accent, I'm not from around here. I'm from New York. Okay, where you can spit and take your neighbor's house.
Yeah.
Okay, that's not why I built my house here.
Right, I know.
Because I wanted some open space.
Yeah.
And now the whole flavor's gonna be gone.
The area is filling up, but even if it develops at just R1, the homes are gonna be close together, and a lot of that has to do.
They don't have to be, that's the thing.
But it's a market issue, because the way that's correct, because we don't have the kind of governmental structure that says we're not going to allow property owners to benefit from holding onto their property for years until the demand is there. Home prices are going up, land prices are going up, the demand for people to move here is going up. More people want to
know,
new, then I
there's
can
one other thing.
add. Go ahead, sir.
I'm gonna have to beat this horse for a little
Okay,
while.
go ahead.
This property, the
Yes.
Beaver Pond area
Yes,
is unique
I know.
topographically, geographically, biologically, archaeologically. We've got Indian sites in there, and I can take you to, all right? You find hickory trees and oyster shells, you've had an Indian camp, period.
Wheat Indians, pottery shards.
I've got pottery shards, and I've found human remains that were reburied in conjunction with the tribal wishes. Okay, and that was before I got there, when they built the road. But that is a significant archaeological site. This land you will not find in these areas that flood in South Santa Rosa. This land is somewhat replicated down in Palm Bayou. You're talking about, what, 8 or 10 miles apart. It's not common, it's not the status quo. What we're trying to protect is not status quo, it is unique. And we're willing to fight for it. Whatever it takes to maintain the environmental quality, the property values, and the peace and quiet we've grown to, or accustomed to. We're willing to fight for that, okay?
You know, in
Where are the
Florida.
bears gonna go? The bears, where are they gonna go? In our yards.
Keep people from developing their property. Florida is unique in that if the county were to say, no, you can't build on your property, they have to purchase it.
That's not what we're
So-
saying. We're saying build R1.
Okay. I'm still losing
Just build
the-
R1, I'll go on.
Yes, sir.
One quick question.
Okay.
Thanks to the pound. Why the pound is built top of the hill?
Well, it's not.
It's the bottom of the hill.
That's the bottom. Because we just said there's a ridge right here if you look.
Yeah.
And the topography of the land, the slopes, and the lowest elevation on the property. Right.
The top of the hill is gonna be right up around here.
We there, right? So.
Thank you
Is there
all for
gonna be-
coming.
There's gotta be some sort of retaining wall to keep that.
No.
No, not the retaining wall on that side, on the back of the pond side, there would be no retaining wall.
It's, what's his name's house?
I know, it's gonna be your house, it's gonna be the retaining wall.
Yeah.
Yeah,
A little bit of a berm.
We have to put a bit of wall
Anybody else
in
got
the
any
video.
particular questions? We can just quick.
24th?
The 24th, you
It's the
said?
third Thursday.
Third Thursday?
Yeah. May wanna double check the county calendar. I just looked, they didn't have it
Let me ask
posted
you a
yet.
last question, that road they building, right, sidewalk line, is it gonna have a buffer, like a vegetation buffer, like trees and stuff like that?
The county will require that there be a
Yeah, they're
buffer
requesting 30
between,
feet buffer to approve my project.
oh, there's gonna be you've got the whole power line
Okay.
as a buffer there, yeah.
Okay, because this was one of the days when they approved my project, to show 30-foot buffer.
Yeah, the third Thursday is the 17th. Fourth Thursday.
Oh, the fourth
I'm
Thursday.
sorry, I misspoke.
I do have a comment, about that power line you just mentioned.
Okay.
That high transmission power line. Kevin, have you ever run into any problems with, buildings of, have you ever taken a gas meter underneath that power line? Well, it goes crazy. And it's, you've got electromagnetic fields under that high transmission power line. There's no way I'd wanna live on it.
Well, where's the water line?
And I've had a gas meter underneath that power line, and it goes crazy. I can take it.
You run that in power line?
It just goes crazy. And those apartments, or, townhouses, I'm sorry, they're gonna have firewalls in between them. And they stop the transmission of sound. I had a couple of buddies living over, well, they're not buddies, they're just acquaintances, but a couple of weeks ago, they went on up at 4:30 in the morning playing the music real loud, and the guy next door beat on the wall, and he already he said, hey, how about some respect? And the guy that was playing the music, he said, well, that ain't my type of music, but here's some Aretha Franklin for you.
I thought that's where you were going with that.
And so, you know, that's the thing, really, we're getting at, we're just not exactly, the type houses that most of us,
I wouldn't live in it.
it's just.
Or you could hear them argue next door.
But there are a whole lot of people who would choose to live there. Otherwise, they wouldn't be, there wouldn't be a demand for them. But I
Is
think
there not a demand for R1 type houses?
there's an increased demand for townhomes in this particular
Is there not a
location.
demand for R1 type houses? Is there?
They sell real quick. They sell real quick.
Well, listen,
They usually last about a day.
yeah, I understand. Listen, thank you guys so much for coming.
Coming.